Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be going over a very simple glass shader that you can create in Blender. It's literally just going to be the default glass shader, but I'm going to show you guys ways to make it look really good. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do in my default Blender file is I'm actually just going to save this as glass. Okay, go ahead and save that. I'm going to delete my light, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my cube and delete that as well. And then I'm just going to add in a sphere, bring that up a bit. And then I'm going to add in a plane underneath of that so we have something to reflect on top of our sphere. Sorry, on bottom of our sphere. Go ahead and click on the sphere. Go over to the Materials tab on the right. Click on New. And then right here where it says Surface, you want to click on that. We're going to get this drop down and we just want to click on Glass BSDF. Now, nothing's going to happen yet because we're not in rendered view. So hold Z, go up to rendered view, and you're still not going to see anything. And that's because we're in Eevee. So I'm going to switch over to Cycles. And you're still not going to really see much. We do have our glass shader, but now we need some light on our scene. So the best way to get some light onto the scene for me is to go ahead over here to our world settings, click right here on this little dot, and then select environment texture. Now everything's going to turn pink because we need to select our environment. So I'm going to go to my HDRI tab and I'm going to select this Winter Lake scene. And now as you can see, there is our glass right there. Now we're going to go ahead and set up the camera, but before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my GPU. Now everything is going much faster. I'm going to click on my camera, and I'm going to press, oh my goodness, what is it? I forget the shortcut, but we're going to go over here to our Transform tab. I'm going to set 0 for everything on the camera. I'm going to bring our camera up. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees on the x-axis, and then I'm going to bring it back on the y-axis like that. Let's go ahead and snap to our camera using numpad 0. GZ to bring it down on the Z-axis, and as you can see we are facing our glass object. Now you'll notice it's not very transparent, and that's because the roughness on the bottom right here is actually set to 0.5 by default value. So if we turn that all the way down, you'll see that we can now see through it. However, because this is such a low quality sphere, we're going to want to go ahead and bump those subdivisions up. So I'm going to go to my modifiers tab, click on subdivision surface, and then we're going to jump this up to 3 for both the render and the viewport. Right click, shade auto smooth, and as you can see we have a very nice looking piece of glass right there. Now there's a few more steps we can take to make it look even better. Remember guys, the glass is one thing, but the way it reflects the environment and the things around it are also just as important. So I'm going to bring this plane very close to our glass here, and I'm going to give this plane a new material, and I'm going to give it a darker material. Now what this is going to do is kind of highlight some of those edges on our sphere. And you guys can scale this plane up as big as you want or as small as you want. I'm just going to keep it just like that. I'm going to give it a slightly metallic surface with a slightly low roughness. Now let's go ahead and check out our light path settings, which are right under here, light paths, and this is in the render properties. Right here we have a total of 12. I'm going to bump that up to 25, and I'm just going to set all of these values to 5. Now, the value that should be most important is transparent and transmissive, so if you guys want, you can bump those up even more. I think this is looking pretty good. Let's go under our color management, and let's go ahead and set our view look to filmic, our view transform to filmic, and high contrast. This is also going to create some high contrast. Let's go ahead and adjust a few more settings. In our output properties, let's adjust this to a perfect square, so 1080 by 1080. And then let's click on our camera, and let's go over to the camera settings and make this an 85mm lens. Let's also enable depth of field. Let's use this eyedropper tool to select our sphere, and let's turn this value way down to like 0.2 or maybe even 1. That looks pretty good. Now we have that nice blurred background. Now, we have the environment reflecting right now, but there's another thing I'm going to show you guys how to do. I'm actually going to click on my plane, go back over to solid mode, tab into edit mode. I'm going to click my my edge select. I'm going to select this edge or any edge that I want. EZ to extrude on the Z axis, right? I'm just going to bring it up a little bit like that. And then I'm going to select that same edge again, hop over to my bevel tool, and I'm going to bevel this out. Now before we confirm anything, we want to pop open this drop down that you are not going to be able to see. There it is right there. And you just want to go ahead and increase those segments a bit. You guys can do as many as you want. I'm just going to go with 23. I'm going to tab back up out of edit mode, shade auto smooth, snap back to my camera, and now let's hop back over to rendered view. As you guys can see, we have this nice studio background sheet that we've just created. Now this is really useful for a lot of projects, and what's great is we can still change the material to whatever we'd like. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to keep it as a dark black kind of gray color. Now as you can see, the HDRI is reflecting, but we can easily swap that out for whatever we'd like, and we're going to get completely different results depending on our environment. Now this is something I cannot stress enough, because when it comes to glass or anything reflective, the thing that it is reflecting is just as important as the material itself. So you guys can have the coolest glass shader that you want, but if you don't have a good environment around it or good lighting, you're not going to be able to tell that it's a transparent material like this. Now, another thing we can do is our default IOR, or index of refraction, is 1.45. You can also turn this down to 1.2, and you can see the drastic difference there, or you can turn it up all the way to 2. I like to make that kind of my limit. I usually don't go above that, but you can see as you adjust it, you're going to adjust the way that everything is reflecting. I kind of like 1.3. That's 1.33 is the IOR of water, so you're going to get very close to a water drop right there. Or 1.2 is also a good one as well. Now you guys can make this whatever you want. You can also change your glass color. Now something that I would suggest, if you're trying to get this very close to an actual real piece of glass, you want to make it slightly green blue tinted, right? Just ever so slightly, almost that you can barely tell. And then for your background, you're going to want to turn that close to white so you can really see that glass color coming through. And again, you can adjust the saturation value as well. You could even play around with 1.45 again, kind of get that nice outer edge of reflection in there. And the final thing that I will suggest is that if we hop over to our shading tab, instead of messing with our actual shader, we're going to click right here where it says Object. We're going to select World. And now I'm going to zoom out so we can see all these nodes right here. We're going to add a couple of nodes. We're going to add a mapping node right here. And we're going to add a texture coordinate node. Oops, sorry guys, I added the wrong one. Texture coordinate. And then we're just going to plug everything in as follows. The generated to the vector to the vector. Now you're not going to notice any changes, but if we go ahead and adjust this Z value of our rotation, watch what happens. See how our entire background is now moving? And do you see how drastically the glass is going to change based on our angle that we're at? Because now we have this very much backlit glass look, right? And it looks great. But if you're not looking for that, you're looking for something that's a little bit more side lit, such as that, then you can go ahead and go with something like that. So again, guys, I'm trying to show you that based on the way that you change your environment and the lighting around your material, you're going to drastically change the way that everything looks. I'm going to head back over to my Layout tab, click on my plane, go to my side view here, my other side view, and I'm just going to bring our plane up till it's barely touching the surface of our sphere, just like that. And I think that looks really nice. Now you guys could go ahead and render this if you want. You can mess around with the render settings a little bit more. I think I'm going to go with 1,000 samples, optics denoising. Everything else looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. There's only one final thing that I will mention. We can go ahead and apply this material to any object we want, but if you guys notice, and I zoom in really, really far on the bottom here, I just want to point this out. Do you guys see these little ripples right here? That is because the sphere object by default is going to give you some very strange geometry. So when you go and you add a subdivision to it, it's going to give you that very weird imperfection look. Now one way to solve this is you could rotate this around any way you like and try to hide that. But there is one more option that we can do. When you go in to add your mesh, you'll see you have all your default options. There's actually a way to add what is called a round cube. And I believe you go to your preferences here, and then you want to type in mesh. And there should be an added mesh. Here you go, extra objects right there. You want to go ahead and check mark that. Now if you X out of this, go to add mesh, you'll see that there's something called a round cube here. I'm going to go ahead and add a round cube to the scene. I'm going to make the radius 1. And then for the arcs, I'm going to turn those way up, maybe to 30 or so. That should be plenty. Now I'm going to click on this. I'm going to bring it up to where our other sphere is. I'm going to hide our other sphere. And then I'm going to change this to the glass material. Shade Auto Smooth. And as you'll see, those ripples at the bottom are completely gone. And that is because our geometry, if we hop over to solid view here, is pretty much perfect on all edges. This is the closest thing you're going to get to a perfect sphere in Blender. And as you can see, we have a beautiful, beautiful render here. Now there's one final pro tip I want to show you guys when it comes to setting up nice objects like this. Click on your plane that we've created for our background, and then just adjust the Z rotation. And look what happens when we adjust that rotation. Do you see how great that is? You can completely change the way that your render is going to look. And the other thing, I think I actually want to change our IOR a little bit. Maybe bring it up to like 1.75 or so. You can also scale down your plane as well. So if you don't think you want it to be as big, or you want to completely change the way this glass is looking, you can also go back to the shading tab and you can adjust your world's rotation. I'm going to find something that I really like, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually render this because we've been working on this for quite some time now. I really like this angle. I'm not sure why. I think I like it because you get that nice window light on the right. Just think it looks really, really nice. I think that's pretty much perfect. I'm also going to mess around with this this background just a little bit more. Maybe raise that roughness just a little bit. And then make sure you guys do have your caustics enabled. Typically, you're not going to get too many caustics with the actual HDRI, but you can see right here on the bottom, it does look really nice. I'm going to also set filter glossy to 0. And I think I'm going to set all my light paths to 10 just to really push this render to the next level. And 10 times 5 is going to be 50, so we'll make that 50 total bounces. Now, as you can see, if I zoom in here, we have that nice green hint on the surface here, and I just think that looks so nice. So let's go ahead and go to solid view so that we're not rendering on two parts, because when you go to render, you don't want to also be in rendered mode on your viewport. So I think I'm good to render. All my settings look correct. I'm going to render my image. Now this image is 1080 by 1080, so it's not a very big image. It looks like it's going to take about less than 30 seconds to render here. So far, it's looking pretty incredible. I'm very, very happy with it. Again, you guys can adjust all these settings however you want. I just wanted to show you guys how to create a very simple and easy glass material just using the default settings in Blender and an HDRI. I think that looks really, really good. I'm very happy with that. Now, I'm on a 4K monitor, so this might seem a little blurry, but in reality, this would probably be the actual size of the image as I zoom out here. Now, you guys can bump the image up any percentage you want. I typically do 1920 by 1920, so I'll probably re-render it for the actual YouTube thumbnail. But overall, guys, that's pretty much it. I do hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you guys using this glass material however you like. I'm hoping you learned some cool techniques today. Definitely check me out on Instagram. I just passed 50,000 followers, so I'm super excited to share that with you guys. And we have a great community going on Discord as well, so I'll drop all the links down below in the description. If you guys have any comments as to what you want to see in the next tutorial, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to cover something new for you guys. So with that being said, everybody have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial.